I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in today's video, we're going to be talking about I felt the connection weakening.
Oh.
No! Spiral. You're going to be in a spiral. And you're going to spiral anxiety. And oh man, that's such a terrible feeling when you can feel that the person that had a higher interest level is losing interest. Staying centered and staying emotionally grounded is not easy to do. This is why we're always telling you to work on your attachment issues. Because if you don't, when you're dating someone and their interest level drops, and at some point it always does, for whatever reason, they're tired, they're sick, they're grumpy, they're stressed at work, whatever, interest level can drop, you can't lose emotional self-control. But if you don't do the work, when it happens, you're going to spiral.
And it is hard to feel like you're losing grip slowly of your relationship.
Oh, it is.
You feel this powerlessness of nothing I can do will get this relationship back to where it was. And that is a really hard feeling to manage.
And the other thing is that when we feel that connection weakening, we want to overcompensate. But you have to show emotional self-control. Because when you come on too strong, it just makes the other person run away anyway. So we've got an email coaching today. This is from a guy in his early 30s and dating a woman in her mid-20s. So he is from the Northeast. Northeast of the U.S. And she was adopted but raised on the west coast of the U.S., but she was born in China, okay? So obviously, adoption is huge, and we always talk about attachment issues and attachment trauma, and there's not much more traumatic than being adopted. Doesn't matter if you were adopted at 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, it doesn't matter. I used to think years ago that, it would matter. If you were adopted as a baby, then you bonded with those parents right away, and, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that's not how it works.
It's still an attachment wound. And I think there is an added complexity to this, given that, she was adopted from a different country.
Yes.
So a lot of times that connection to your culture, where you came from, is completely lost versus, that same culture type of adoption. So there is some attachment wounds there, in addition to her own unique experience as an adoptee, as an international adoptee.
Many, many people that are adopted wind up with a disorganized attachment style. Okay? Margaret worked in adoption for years. Okay, so she taught us a lot about it over the years, and she specialized in it for a long time, right? So we have some older videos with Margaret. I know one of them is called There's a Hole in Your Heart, or Hole in My Heart, that is specifically on adoption. And I believe we get into it a little bit in the Creative Healing course too, in section maybe 8,
I think
in the disorganized attachment style stuff. But adoption is very painful. And many people that have been adopted can't regulate their emotions. They don't trust people. They have a lot of hurt and anger inside of them, right?
Yeah, it does take a lot to, heal through that pain. And for adoptees, each person has their own unique story. And sometimes it's something that we hear people just kind of gloss over. Oh yeah, my partner was adopted, by the way.
Yeah.
we really do want you to pay attention to that. If you're an adoptee yourself, then please share your story in the comments, your perspective, what it was like for you. Everybody does have their unique experiencing of it, and it is worth noting because that is where you come from. And babies start to attach in utero.
That's true.
In utero. So just think about that. I know there are a lot of myths out there about adoption and what it is, and that it isn't a big significant part of people's lives, but it really can be. It really can be.
I know it seems hard to believe, okay? And I understand, but Margaret worked in this field for a long time. It was one of the things that she specialized in. And so we talked about this all the time. Babies do attach in utero. They get used to parents' voices, mothers' voices, and babies can even experience trauma in utero. And you know what I'm talking about, 'cause Margaret would talk about that. But I'm not going to get into specifics. It gets pretty out there on what stuff kind of happens with that. But just trust us that adoption is huge in being able to trust, in being able to bond, in regulating your emotions, and there's a lot to it. And we have some videos on it. Search the channel, Craig Kenneth Adoption, and some videos will come up for sure. So they both worked in a similar industry. And he says, and spent a lot of time away from home. I had not been in many relationships due to this way of life. We met in the summer of 2021. But just stayed friends due to work and timing. In the fall of 22, an opportunity came where we were both in the same state together, me for work and her on leave from her work. We continued to hang out, and our friendship quickly progressed into a romantic one. By January, we were official and absolutely crazy about each other and excited about the relationship. In February, she had to go back to work on the East Coast. Our relationship was already in long-distance status and was about to get a lot further. We both felt our connection was strong and that due to our understanding of quote-unquote the life, we could make this work. I wish that was true. She was recently promoted, which came with more stress and responsibilities. My current work situation was very flexible, and I was prepared to support her in any way that I could. Everything started off good, but after a few months, I was starting to notice a difference and felt the connection between us weakening. Now, I'm sure part of it was long distance, they're not seeing each other, and now she's got this promotion or whatever it was that meant a lot more working and a lot more stress.
Right.
So those three things are going to really impact the connection.
And it seems like the two of them did try to have some of these conversations about what it would actually look like. They talked about this type of lifestyle where it is long distance and all of this traveling. So I think that's good. And at the same time, living it, experiencing it, it's a whole different ballgame. It can be really difficult.
And I just wanted to say, they are basically going to be on the opposite sides of the country at this point. Our communication started to decrease, and it was harder to make time for us. I could feel her getting more distant. She was not as open or while trying to communicate as she was at the early stages of the relationship. I reacted by trying to close that distance. Looking back, it probably only made things worse. So he probably got anxious. What do we want to do? We want to connect. We want to reconnect with that person. We don't want to feel that disconnect. We don't want to feel it weakening. We want to fix it. And a lot of times when we try and fix it and the other person they're too stressed or upset or working too much, they're just like, oh, I don't have time for this. It feels like pressure.
Yeah.
She got very resistive and almost annoyed when I suggested trying to set up weekly phone calls, which I don't think was unreasonable for a long-distance relationship. And I don't either.
I don't either. And I will say for a lot of long distance relationships, what does help is having some sort of plan as to, will we live in the same city at some point again? Is there an end date to our long distance? So I don't know if they've had those types of conversations too, but it sounds like he's trying to be as communicative as possible, despite how far away they are.
Yep.
So I do give him props for that.
Yeah. But, you know, it's kind of telling where her interest level is at if she doesn't even want to do a phone call once a week.
Could be also her stress level.
True.
You know.
True, but I think it's more about her attachment issues. She's adopted, remember.
Well, I think it could be all of these things in combination.
Yeah, sure. She was able to make time with her friends a lot, which I was fine with and never called her out on, but was hesitant to sacrifice time for me. So that's telling. Shows she's got some time to go out with people, but for whatever reason, she can't even find time for a weekly call. So that's going to hurt your feelings.
Obviously, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I made it out there finally in May, and we had a great long weekend together. But I couldn't help feeling something was a little off, and the trip did not have the effect I hoped for. I was anxious at this point and didn't know how to handle the situation, and felt like I wasn't even able to talk to her because of fear of pushing her away.
Yeah, and that's that helplessness that you do feel when you start to see your partner distance more and more.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's so frustrating because all you want to do is fix that disconnect, and it's like the more you try, the more they just run away or lose interest.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to find that balance.
And especially if she's far away, I can imagine how much more frustrating it is. You know, that now he feels, okay, if she were in the same town, maybe there is some leverage. You know, maybe we could meet up somewhere or make something work. But her being so far away and trying to mend it, I can imagine that feeling like, wow, I really don't know what to do here.
There's a little bit more. In mid-June, she broke up with me over a text. I called her immediately and we talked. She said she felt we rushed into things, and she could not give me the time and the effort I deserved. And the timing was bad, and she was trying to focus on her career and herself. I mean, all those things feel pretty honest to me, right? It wasn't a mutual breakup, and I took it hard. But I did not beg. I told her I would process everything and would reach out to her when I was ready, and she agreed. The next day, I discovered no contact videos, which led me to your channel. I have not contacted her since the breakup. I have an anxious attachment, and I think she is somewhat avoidant. Should I reach out like I said I would, and do you think there's any hope in this situation for us after a short-term, long-distance relationship? I've purchased the workbooks and do them every day to work on my anxiety and become a better person. Appreciate any help and advice you can give. Okay, so, you know, one of the things that I can't help wonder is how honest is she being about being stressed about work and, you know, the promotion she got. If she really genuinely is that stressed about it, then that's telling that if it calms down, she might be able to give more time and energy to the relationship and not feel so guilty that she can't give you what you need, right? And the time and the effort that you deserve, that she even said that. So if it really is partially timing, you know, that it's bad timing, work is stressful, she can't really give him those things, that to me is telling that if that settles down, she's going to be a lot more likely to come back. If she was using it as an excuse and not being honest, obviously, then it's harder to know.
Right, right. And it's different now that she's in a different environment. I'm really curious to see, you know, what type of support system she does have there, what her job is like. Now, there are some details here that are lacking, which I'm sure are hard to fit into this email. But when somebody is in a different environment, they start to see the world differently, see their relationship differently. I also think that her being in a new environment does also make a big impact. We don't know what kind of a social support network she has there. When somebody is in a completely different place, a completely different state on the other coast of the country, it can cause her to change her perspective up a little bit and cause her to reevaluate her wants for a relationship.
Yeah, it seemed like it was only going really well when they were in the same state together. But once she had moved and she got this promotion, the relationship maybe wasn't as important to her, or maybe she just thought, I can't do this. Again, she's adopted. So, when people are adopted, they have a lot of attachment issues, and maybe it felt too much for her that, she can't be committed to somebody that she can't see on a regular basis, or, something along those lines. It's hard to know. But a major attachment trauma like adoption is going to really impact your ability to be in a relationship anyway. Doing it long distance, who knows how that's impacting her.
You may also think that even if it was her decision to go to a different place, there could be some abandonment issues that are triggered there from that move. Even without considering the adoption, this is a challenging situation. Most people in this situation would really struggle. So, I can see from his perspective, him having this hope, him trying to work at it, trying to communicate, trying to set up a plan of, okay, let's talk once a week, let's stay connected, let's do this, and him really being eager to make this work.
Yeah.
And her thinking, my entire life is changing right now. I don't know what's going to happen next week, next month. And I'm not sure if I'm ready to make plans for this relationship when my career is going this other direction.
That's right. So, yeah, you need her to have that same level of interest in you in making this connection grow and work out. It can't be you just basically chasing her and really trying to make it work. She's got to make an effort here too. And right now she's not doing that. So I would look at her as just somebody that you might casually see and date unless the situation changes, and unless she's really committed to it. I would just say, okay, this is not going to work for me, because I think you're just going to feel neglected and your needs aren't going to get met.
Yeah, and it seems like there needs to be some level of stability, continuity with some relationship with her. If she wasn't willing to talk with you weekly...
Yeah, I mean, that's not asking for anything.
Yeah.
A once-a-week phone call, if you're not really doing that, then your interest just isn't there. I mean, at least right now. So I'd leave her be. And I look at her as just somebody casual that you might see and hang out with every once in a while. But unless she really makes an effort to put this relationship in a situation where it can work, then, you can't do all the work. It's got to be equal.
Right. And just knowing the two of you had that conversation of, this is a certain type of lifestyle with you traveling, you being far away, and me being here, and this is what it's going to be like. And then living it and it being completely different, having different feelings. And now you're reconsidering those promises that you may have made during that conversation. Yes, even if we're far away, we're still going to talk, we're going to do these weekly calls, and then life starts happening, things start changing. So I can see the hope and the expectation and the build up here. And now her being in a different place, the reality really settling in. So give yourself some time to process this grief all on its own.
Yep.
I think time will tell, and it really is going to matter where she is in the world if she can be consistent with you.
And if she can find the time and the energy to meet your needs as well. All right, so hopefully this has been helpful to you. And of course, if you want to get our help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.